Okay, hello everybody.
Welcome to Between Destinations Episode 3, Take 2. The first take you will never see because it's been deleted and lost to time because my guest star here, young capitalist, also known as Phoenician Diaspora, also known as Zack most of the time, started to dox me. So, yeah, we had to remove that from the record.
Yeah, so this here is Classic J, is what I'm going to refer to him as for the duration of the recording.
I didn't really ask him to do that, but it's fine.
All right, Classic J.
I wasn't going to make him call me wall lobster because that'd be pretty lame.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So we just got back from our trip to Pittsburgh,
well, we're
Pennsylvania.
making our way back.
Well, yeah, we're on the process. We're in between destinations.
We're about to pass the Palace of Gold, a local Hindu temple.
Yeah, and Classic J, well...
So we were talking about... we were talking about literature. This guy was going to talk to me about David Foster, I think, and Infinite Jest.
David Foster Wallace, bro.
David Foster Wallace. I don't know, dude. I'm not an English major like you. Yeah, we got a certified disgusting coughing professional here.
Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying about postmodernism, I was talking about David Foster Wallace's critique of postmodernism.
We got a really intriguing episode today for all of our wonderful viewers and listeners.
A lot of people associate Infinite Jest. The book's like 1,000 pages. It's nearly intelligible. It's very difficult to read. And most people buy it, and then they don't actually read it, and it just sits on their nightstand. And they tell people that they read it.
Relatable.
So if anyone ever says their favorite book is Infinite Jest, they're lying. And if anyone ever tells you that they've read Infinite Jest, they're also lying. I have not read Infinite Jest, but I do own the book, and it is on my coffee table. So,
have you read it?
I read the first 100 pages.
You're lying. I'm
not lying. I have not finished the whole book.
But you just said that if someone said that they've read it,
yeah,
they're lying.
From cover to cover. Okay, here's a weird thing about Infinite Jest. I think the term for it is diegetic literature. It is it's a book that requires more of the reader than to just flip from one page to the next. Half the book is footnotes.
Oh.
So when you're reading, any random little passage, there's going to be a little number next to what you're reading, and then you're going to have to flip to the back of the book.
Oh, you have to flip to the back
to reference the footnote that was mentioned.
It's probably a very Reddit comparison, but House of Leaves does a
No,
similar thing.
That's not Reddit at all.
Well, House of Leaves
is also a diegetic book,
which is an amazing book that I still need to finish, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yes.
But anyway, so I have not read all of Infinite Jest, but
Sure, pal.
I'm a fan of David Foster Wallace. Rest in peace. He killed himself.
Damn.
Oh wait, are you not allowed to say that on YouTube?
I think I don't care. I have 2 viewers.
That's true. That's also why you shouldn't care if I dox you, but
well,
yeah.
People might go back, so I don't care.
After you're famous, you mean?
Yeah, after I definitely get famous, that'll definitely happen one day.
Yeah, so David Foster Wallace's critique of postmodernism is a lack of sincerity. That's really the main thing. Sum it up. Oh my God.
Ohio! We're about to make it back to our home state.
Lift your feet up, boys.
Lift your feet up so you don't trip over the state line.
Woo!
Woo! Yay!
Alright. Yeah, so...
back to the postmodernism discussion.
Yeah, so David Foster Wallace hated postmodernism.
I got this big old truck
because it killed sincerity. And he really, really hated TV shows like Seinfeld. He fucking hated Seinfeld.
He was not a fan of comedy?
No, it wasn't comedy. He hated comedy where the punchline of the joke was that people are bad, moralism is bad, connection is bad. He thought that media was better for people to consume when there was a message behind it.
Oh.
That, there was something to take away from it. There was, some positive value that it was reinforcing that had to do with like family values or connections with your friends is important, or it's important to tell the truth or anything like that. And he thinks that like this media that's so cynical and satirical, and like every single person and every single piece of media you consume has like layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of like irony and like conceit and like facetiousness. And he thought that that was like one of the things that was basically destroying like modern society and modern culture, and that it was like
kind of agree with that,
leading to this epidemic of like loneliness, dejectedness, and hopelessness in young people, because people don't have anything to latch on to. They don't have a North Star anymore. Like when everything is like a joke and everything is like just this like satirical nonsense, like it's almost this kind of like pseudo-nihilistic thing where like nothing has any meaning, nothing has any value, everything is a joke, nothing is to be taken seriously. And I mean, David Foster Wallace himself, like he struggled with depression his like entire life, especially as an adult.
So it probably didn't help that kind of those pieces of media being like nothing matters, everything's stupid.
And like, I mean, I think he would like pin that to be like one of the sources of depression, is that he just thought that, you know,
society was falling down the drain.
Yeah, kind of
into the river of life. As
and
one
so
might
yeah,
say.
he did unfortunately like commit suicide. But he published a lot of books before then. Infinite Jest is his most popular one.
Well, at least he's been able to live on in the conversations between two guys in a car making their way back from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Well, not just that. I mean, he's a pretty famous author.
Well, that too, of course.
And just general. I guess you could call him a philosopher. I don't think that he would take that term.
Credit.
But I mean, he's certainly a thinker. He's certainly a thinker. But
I kind of dig it. I dig it.
I think, to a certain extent, I mean, I definitely agree with his philosophy, and that's what Infinite Jest is about.
So
like,
Infinite Jest, like breaking that down, or
Infinite Jest is like this weird narrative. It's like where it tells the story of a bunch of different people that like all subtly relate to one another.
Okay.
And it takes place in this weird like post-capitalist like world where every single thing is related to like a corporation or a business or marketing.
Oh, brother.
Like the years, like literally the name of years can be bought by a company. Wow. So instead of like the year 2026 and the month is this, it's like the year is like KFC.
The
like,
year of KFC.
It's like KFC 27 or something. Like,
wow.
Like corporations are so deeply ingrained into the world of Infinite Jest that every single aspect of life like is purchased and consumed and revolves around it.
Is it set in is it set in like a real future, like in our world's future, or are there fake corporations? Or is it like,
no?
It's
mostly real corporations that are like used as examples.
How long ago was Infinite Jest made?
I think in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, sometime in the 90s, I think. And another example is a guy, like a character in the book. I don't remember exactly what company it was. Like, let's just say it was like Pizza Hut.
Okay.
I don't know if that's exactly what it was.
But, you know,
the character became Pizza Hut.
Wait, really?
Yes. He signed his life away to the company to be the, like, physical manifestation of the company Pizza Hut. So, like, as a human being, like, legally, he represented the company of Pizza Hut, and his name was Pizza Hut, and for all intents and purposes, this guy was the company Pizza Hut.
That was very interesting, because I overheard, I think, slightly political conversation at a Primanti Bros earlier, a great restaurant that we visited when we were in Pittsburgh. And the two guys that were sitting next to us, they were talking about like how like I think someone like gave like corporations free speech or something, and they were talking about how like corporations aren't people. And I think that's kind of like a weird like synchronicity with what we're talking about now, you know?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
there's like a very slight relation there, but that's as much as I can contribute to this conversation as a non-English major.
Well, you don't need to be an English major.
Oh, jeez. So I'm just stupid?
Basically, yeah.
Oh, damn it.
No, I'm just joking.
It's okay.
But I mean, I think that. What are you doing here?
I just need to see the map real quick.
Oh, okay.
We can keep talking. Don't worry, it's still rolling, everybody.
I think Infinite Jest and like David Foster Wallace's like commentary on modern culture, popular culture, is like still very relevant.
I mean, it definitely seems like it.
I mean, things in some ways got better, in some ways they got even worse. Like, his whole critique of like irony has definitely gotten worse because, like, I think internet culture as a whole, because obviously he wrote that before internet culture was a thing.
Oh, I bet I mean...
He would fucking despise internet culture and, like, meme culture and, like ironic meme culture.
Maybe he had a vision of the future and that's why he did
maybe
that
he did.
thing.
But, like... Because, I mean, you think about these memes that people have, and it's like so many memes are just wrapped in, like, an unfathomable, like, number of layers of irony and, like, references to other things. Like, things that...
It's, like, crazy stuff.
And also, like, cringe culture is another one. Like, cringe culture is, like, an enemy of expression.
Yeah.
Because it makes people afraid to express themselves, which is another critique of postmodernism, that, like, postmodernism encourages people to not be their authentic, true selves and, like, hide themselves out of fear of being made fun of, because postmodernism makes fun of everything.
So, yeah, postmodernism is making fun of everything, right?
Yeah, because...
Infinite Jest doesn't like postmodernism. David Foster Wallace.
Yes.
Okay.
But, I mean, postmodernism, like, wasn't all bad, because postmodernism obviously came as a result of modernism.
Of course.
And modernism is, like, as you'd expect, the opposite of postmodernism, where everything is, like, very serious, and, like, people should take value from things, and, like, when you listen to media, or, like, imagine, like, Leave It to Beaver, or, like, these 1950s, like, TV shows or novels that are, like, very, very, like, rich with, like, meaning. Like, there is a very obvious message to take away from this. And it's usually things that are just, like, kind of, like, what we would consider today to be, like, corny, or, like, oh, that's so, like, cliche or played out.
Like the power of friendship.
Yeah, like, things like that. But in, like, the 50s, when that was, like, the dominant, like, popular culture element, that kind of wasn't. Like, that was, like, a new thing when people started doing that.
That's a really interesting, like, thought process of, like, that kind of stuff, like, wasn't cliche. Like, I'm sure it, like, had been thought of before.
I mean, it was still cliche, but it was more of, like, those values were really heavily associated with religion, like, because morals were really associated with religion.
I didn't even think about that.
But during, like, modernism, it was still associated with religion, but it was less like, okay, well, these are the 10 commandments, so, like, let's just follow that, everybody. That's what the church says. It's more like, it had more to do with the government and more of, like, a general, like, wider, like, secular culture kind of thing. It's like, okay, guys, like, it's good to be a good person because we all live in a nice little suburban neighborhood, and, like, let's all just, like, try. There's, like, a kind of optimism in America after, like, the Second World War, yeah.
Sense of community.
But then in, like, the 70s counterculture movements, like, people started thinking, like, wait, this is really fucking dumb, like, because their parents were, like, super lame, and the government started being really fucky with, like, you know,
also, like,
Vietnam
racism.
And racism. Then in the 80s, there was, like, Reaganomics.
Sexism.
Yeah, and people just started being, like, generally way more cynical of, like, the government. And...
Well, Vietnam.
Yeah, well, Vietnam. Like, people started being way more cynical of, like, the government and just these general, like, messages that are crammed down their throat. Because people are, like, just trying to be like, hey, like, everything's all good. Like, that's what the government and what old media wants people to think. But clearly everything isn't all good because there's still crazy, rampant, like, it's like racism, sexism, the economy is fucked. Like...
Things are falling apart.
Yeah. And, So that like motivated people to start like moving into this more postmodernist movement where they take a step back from these morals and be like, well, everything is dumb, the government sucks, like community is like purposeless because it's stupid, meaning is like valueless because like it's just corny and dumb. And like this kind of like thinking like became so prevalent that it like seeped into every single aspect of culture, like music, TV, movies, literature, like philosophers, like just every single aspect of culture came to like reflect this postmodernist like nihilistic, cynical mindset. And then when the internet came along and like the internet adopted that mindset too. And I think that we are in a way starting to overcome that. I think that one of the things...
I think there's almost always been like some resistance to that concept.
I mean, of course. And I think that one of the things...
There will never be 100% negativity, I think.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think is kind of like one of the strongest pushbacks against that is kind of like the, I guess, social justice and like social awareness, like social like general like leftist progressive attitudes in like the 2010s and 2020s.
Yeah,
is I think it encourages like more of a sense of community, especially among like oppressed groups, and like
I'd agree with that.
I think that we're moving away from like the really like old played out like values and messages of like modernism, of like those things like you mentioned of like, oh, friendship is the answer and family is the key, and all of those things, and we're moving towards
like the
more
nuclear family and
the nuclear family, like these just old like 1950s like values, and we're moving towards
like
something
our own,
else,
like, set of values possibly?
Yeah, like a new set of values that are being held up that more so promote like social justice
and like, you know, equality and that kind of
thing. And of course that's always been a thing, but like that is now the mainstream culture, because even in the 60s like progressive culture was counterculture, like being like civil rights was like not the status quo like thing for people to support. But now like we have reached a point where, you know, modern movies are coming out, like art is being made where these things are like at the forefront, and they're making like millions of dollars. Like the Barbie movie, that's a great example of like a blockbuster, like crazy high grossing theater filling movie that talks about and like commentates on things like involving like social justice, feminism, that would have been completely and totally taboo like even 10 years ago.
Now, I will say, to push back up a little bit on that, a little bit of devil's advocate, do you think that that movie was made nowadays because of this like rising progression, and then the studios just see that as a moneymaker? Because that's my point of view for a lot of these kind of things. I do still think it's important for those movies to be made, but when a big studio, like I believe Warner Brothers made Barbie, if I'm thinking correctly, like, is that just like a cash grab almost?
See, this is the thing. That's a really good point.
That push and pull, right?
Because
I'm a little nihilistic when it comes to these big blockbusters being more socially just.
I think David Foster Wallace would appreciate that, because one of his major critiques is that it's okay to be cynical towards capitalism. It's not okay to be cynical towards other people.
Okay.
Because capitalism is like the root of all competition and hatred among people. Like capitalism like creates like this hyper competitive environment where in order to get ahead you have to stomp on the head of someone else. Like, and in postmodernism, it's
is this becoming a communist podcast?
Well, no. I mean, you can critique capitalism without necessarily being a communist.
Pro-communism.
I mean, I would consider myself a socialist.
Oh boy.
A democratic socialist.
Oh brother.
Yeah.
I'm joking. I don't really care all that much about all that stuff. I'm able to live day to day, and I'm able to play my epic freaking video games, and that's pretty much all I worry about. Other than, the crushing depression and everything that happens time to time, but,
Yeah, this guy...
Just hand wave that away.
He's got a bottle of Jack Daniels next to his, little, fucking...
It's not Jack Daniels, and it's not a race car bed. It's a train, and it's Fireball, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Big difference.
What I was saying
back
is...
to the actual serious topic.
What I was saying is that it's okay to be cynical towards capitalism. It's not okay to be cynical towards your fellow man.
According to David Foster Wallace.
That is kind of what he... I mean, because that's what Infinite Jest is, this massive critique of capitalism and, other people's attitudes towards each other. And, how competitive... the main character, or at least the first character you get introduced to in Infinite Jest, is a competitive tennis player.
Challengers.
In a tennis academy. And you kind of see his journey of this hyper competitiveness of having to compete to be a pro tennis player, and how inexplicably, unbelievably competitive and hostile that environment is in this world, and how cutthroat people are with each other.
So when you say that Infinite Jest is a really hard read, because everything you're saying about it is very interesting, and it's definitely grabbing me a lot, and I would be interested in reading it, but it's when the footnotes, is it what would you say your best approximation of the average footnote would be in that, if that's even possible? Is that too ridiculous?
There's pages. There's what do you mean by that?
It's is there going to be references to academic journals and everything, or is it
no, not
legible?
It's half the story is within the footnote.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned House of Leaves. That's a great example.
It's is it a Johnny Truant footnote, or is it a Zampano footnote? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's more of a Johnny Truant type footnote.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I can dig that. I can vibe with that.
But
I might have to pick it up.
Yeah, and put it on your nightstand so everyone can see how cool you are.
Well, not my well, if it's on my nightstand, only the babes would see it.
Well, that's what people put it there for.
I mean, fair enough.
If you ever go to a dude's house and they got Infinite Jest on the nightstand,
run.
Yeah, that's your sign to run. That's your sign to get out of there.
You're in for a bad time. Undertale style.
And that is coming from someone that has Infinite Jest on there. It's on my bookshelf.
Well, that's different. That's on your bookshelf, not your nightstand.
I don't claim to be actively reading that. So.
Unless the babe is really hot. Then you might be oh, well, I'm kind of working.
Well, if the babe is really hot and they agree, if they're a David Foster Wallace fan,
yes, okay, true.
Then I'll be I've
read it cover to cover twice.
I've read it cover to cover 4 or 5 times. I think he was a genius. The man was a goddamn genius.
And you probably could fake it because you've read a little bit of it.
Well, no, I mean, if I couldn't have a conversation about it, about the details of the book with someone who's read it, because I haven't read the whole thing yet. So.
Look at this beautiful scenery in front of us right now.
It's okay.
What the hell? Dude, David Foster Wallace would hate you.
He might. And he always wore a fucking bandana.
It's a little gray, but it's still beautiful to me. I like wide ranging sceneries like this.
His other famous book has something to do with water. I'm trying to remember what it was named.
The Shape of Water. That's a good movie.
I don't know. It's not The Shape of Water. No, I've not seen The Shape of Water.
I'd recommend it. Guillermo del Toro, I believe.
Oh, I didn't. Wait a minute.
It's the Fishman movie.
Oh, I have seen The Shape of Water.
Isn't it a good
movie?
I
was actually just talking to my coworker about that.
Yeah, it's the movie where a lady has sex with the Fishman.
Yeah,
Spoiler,
that's a great movie.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, and she eats the hard-boiled eggs and feeds it to the fish creature.
Yes, I forgot about the hard-boiled eggs.
This is water. That's what his other book says.
This is water. Yeah. Are you talking to the caveman?
This is water.
This is water, and he's like,
this is water.
He speaks.
What? I've taught the caveman how to speak. Now I control him.
Water. This is water.
This is water.
I'm really glad that I have an actual intellectual on my podcast. My
yes.
epic freaking podcast talk show.
I'm twirling my big old mustache hairs right now.
Yeah, you can't see it, but he does have like a 6 foot long mustache hanging off his face.
Yeah, I'm twirling both of them. I have my my pomade oil.
He's spinning them around like pigtails.
Yeah, I'm twirling them around my pinkies.
It's quite alluring, I will say.
Oh, thank you.
There's been a car riding next to us this whole time, staring at him doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, TBH.
Yeah, and Classic J here. He has the
Classic J.
He has the driving crooner.
Okay, come on, dude. I said not to dox me. People are gonna know what my car is now if they see the driving crooner.
He's got the driving crooner stickers on his side windows here.
Any, I think you should leave fans out there. Tim Robinson and whatnot. I don't get why you weren't digging the new Tim Robinson movie. You thought the stuff was lame.
Well, yeah, just because the trailer was boring.
I didn't think the trailer was very boring. I think it was conveying its plot pretty well. It could, like I said previously, when we were talking about it the first time, it could have just been the Tim Robinson buff because he's like a really funny guy and a cool guy. But
yeah. Yep. Let's see. It's 26 minutes, Jonah. Is that long enough for
26
you?
26 minutes? I mean, yeah, I think we had a pretty good conversation. How about you?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And David Foster Wallace. I certainly hope all of our listener liked it.
Yeah, all of our listener.
All of our singular listener. And that's being generous.
Hey, if you listen to this far in the video, please leave a comment.
Yes, please leave a comment. And
to know that you're not lying.
Yes.
I want you to say this very specific secret
phrase.
Secret phrase.
What should it be? We got to come up with it.
All right. It should be, I spoke to the lobster. He said,
take a trip down the river of life.
Ooh, there you go.
Yes, put that in quotation marks.
Okay, put this in quotation marks. I spoke to the lobster,
comma.
He said, take a trip down the river of life.
That should have been my senior quote.
That would have been a good one, indeed. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you again for watching, and if you liked it, like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and hopefully there will be more stuff on the channel soon. Thank you once again.
And don't forget to check me out on YouTube.
Yes, I was gonna say
at Phoenician Diaspora.
Yes, I will make sure to tag you in the video. But yes, anything you wanted to shout out? Do you want to link your itch.io page?
Nah, it's inactive.
What?
I don't really have anything to.
Nosferatu's dryer on fire.
Right, yeah,
listen, if you want to be amazed, look up on YouTube Nosferatu's dryer on fire and look for the Let's Plays of a wonderful little itch.io game. And it'll have been made by Young Capitalist / Phoenician Diaspora. But yes, this has been Between Destinations Episode 3, starring Young Capitalist / Phoenician Diaspora / Zack.
And Classic J.
Yes, and Classic J / Jonah / Wall Lobster. Thanks for listening in. Like and subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful life.